bastards.
Ghosts get summer holidays too. They'll be
do.
all
They
ready
need to
for
grow.
Halloween.
That's
Oh,
the idea.
that's
And then we've
adorable.
bought some pretty napkins and we're going to cut out the flowers on the napkins and then like decoupage it. So there'll be flowery ghosts with little tea lights. So it's gonna be
That
really cute.
sounds adorable. I'm going to need to
Yeah,
see
if they dry
pictures when
in
they're done.
time. Yeah.
Let us begin the completely
Again.
previously unheard story of Wu Zetian. Right. Hi, Vicki. How are you doing today?
Hi, Cara. I am good. I am fresh-faced. I am ready to re-record this story
Let's
and,
go.
try my best.
Well, in essence, recording it for the first time, aren't we? So,
That's true,
literally,
actually.
although
Technically.
we've had a little sneaky preview, but we haven't actually achieved a recording yet. So this is a first,
Cool.
for everybody else, just not for us. So I will begin it if you are ready.
Yeah, let's go.
It's an uncommon commoner that can rise from relative obscurity to the pinnacle of power, and an even rarer woman who can do it in a society that would prefer that she stayed obedient and invisible. Today, we're talking about Wu Zetian, the only female emperor in China's history. Ruthless and brilliant, she was a ruler whose story is both about ambition and about the version of your story that people choose to tell after you're gone. So, sources for today are Asian Studies Online, an article in the newspaper India Today, the BBC History Extra website, worldhistory.org, a YouTube channel called World History Documentaries, and a book called The Golden Road by William Dalrymple. That's where I first heard of her because he talked about her at his talk. So
nice.
we will, yeah, he was
fangirl
really,
him.
I love him so much.
Yeah, I know.
It's slightly creepy how much, and Anita Anand, just fabulous,
Amazing.
fabulous. They are my idols in this sphere. But on to Our Lady. So we'll set the scene. We are in the Tang Dynasty, which is, in many senses, it's a golden age for China. It's the 7th century CE. China is a global force in trade, in arts. The capital, Chang'an, sees merchants and diplomats from all over the world coming to bring goods and to bring their own cultures and ideas to China. And maybe as a result of this, the Tang court is more cosmopolitan than many other cultures of the day. So women, for example, are able to participate in local government, in lower roles. They are able to ride horses in public, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but
Oh my
isn't
God.
a given, right? There's a sculpture that I've got a picture of there where there's a woman playing polo. They are engaged in sports. They are the lionesses of their day.
Nice.
It's a patriarchy, but it's not a patriarchy that utterly subjugates women.
I guess compared to other patriarchies that we've spoken about, this sounds slightly more relaxed. Yeah.
And it's of its day. There are cultures on Earth today that aren't so open to equality. So, considering we're in the 7th century, that is something. However, that openness has its limits. So in the Chinese political system, there is a really clear dividing line. There is somebody called the Huang Hu, and that is the Empress consort. That is the wife of the emperor. There is then the Huang Di, that is the emperor, the ruler, and that is a man. There is no concept of empress. It is just an emperor.
The man and
emperor
his
is a
wife.
man. So, yep, the role of emperor is the male role. End of it. That's it.
Yeah.
So when Wu Zetian wanted to rule, she didn't just want to be the wife of the emperor or the mother of the emperor. She wanted to be the Huang Di. She wanted to be the man. I'm the man.
Very exciting.
I'm not bossy. I'm the boss, right? So
yes.
Her obstacle at the time was that although the Tang court had some foreign influence, the prevailing religion, the state philosophy, if you like, not really religion, I guess, is Confucianism. And in Confucianism, there are very clear and defined gender roles. So there's a quote
Okay.
here to give you a kind of sense of the structure she'd be up against.
Quote, women are to be led and to follow others. A woman ruler would be as unnatural as having a hen crow like a rooster at daybreak. Oh, F
It's,
off.
I know, right?
Honestly.
There is a thing that hen and rooster imagery, I'm sure, is in the Christian Bible as well. And I will never forget, I was out mowing my lawn one day, like in real life, mowing my actual lawn. And this actual woman, as I was mowing my lawn, I was whistling, harming nobody. This lady came over and she went, something like, a whistling woman or a crowing hen is fit for neither God nor man. And I was like,
Oh, God.
excuse me?
It's not your business. It's got nothing
Excuse
to do
me?
with
Just
you.
walk your ass away, you little weirdo.
Oh,
But that
so
thought
unsolicited.
that nature tells us, you know, nature does a lot of things. Birds eat their babies. We don't need to be taking every cue. Anyway, so yes, unsolicited. Confucius unfortunately had quite a lot of sway, so that's what we're dealing with.
Fine.
However, Buddhism had traveled across from India and was
Okay.
starting to make some incursions, particularly because the emperor of the day when Wu was born had some Buddhist monks and scholars join his court as advisors. They were helping him with some medical issues. They were helping him because he liked them with some ideas. And he took a real interest and real shine to Buddhism and started to practice it within his court. So there's a little bit of openness here. But
Mm.
I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll circle back. We'll talk a bit about Wu Zetian.
Okay.
She herself was born in 624 CE, and she was born into a relatively prosperous family. Her childhood was a little bit unusual in that she was taught to read and write, as well as the more sort of traditionally feminine skills of playing music or,
Yeah.
being artistic. So that level of education was a little bit unusual and it gave her a leg up. And beyond that, she's said to also have had confidence and beauty and great instincts.
I'm reading this book at the minute, A Court of Thorn and Roses, which is like very popular in the fantasy world. And this woman, what reminds me so much of the main character in that. And but I don't think it's based on Chinese histories. I think it's based on British histories. Like that's where the inspiration comes from. And it's like an American author. And it's so similar in terms of that she also becomes high lady, like so she fights for this role of empress, which is what you just said earlier. So I think it's very similar, which is very exciting.
These stories obviously are just in the air. This is something that has happened through history and to the point where
Yeah.
it's being brought in as a fable to sort of show how things
Yeah.
actually were. That's
Yeah.
so
And how
interesting.
despite circles, despite lands, despite time frames. Yeah, wild. Wild, wild, wild.
So that's what we're talking about. And I think you've said before the protagonist in your book is quite young. She
Hmm.
also has that in common because
Oh God.
Wu
It's like grim.
leaves her home. It's the time, I
Yeah.
guess. Wu leaves her home at 14 to join the royal court. And the emperor is Taizong, and he takes her on as one of his consorts, which consort, concubine, it's a word that has certain associations for us, right? In the Tang society, in the Tang Dynasty, it wasn't a role that was only about procreation or sex. It was a role that had status. It also was about those things, but in addition to those services, the women
Mm.
who were courtesans, concubines, were also expected to participate in court life. They would be anything from, cleaning or maintaining the flowers to playing musical instruments to writing poetry, engaging in gentle diplomacy, by which I am imagining them to be along the lines of a sort of geisha who is pleasing to look at and hospitable.
What a fascinating role that is, like in her service.
Yeah.
That you're not just a lady in waiting, you're a lady in waiting pro, like plus.
Yeah, and you have more to offer. And I suppose in a really gross patriarchal way, it's also a big flex for the emperor to go look at all these beautiful ladies who are falling over themselves to bear my children and to help around, how lucky I am to have all these women. And
Look at you.
unlike cultures where that is maybe kept behind a wall, like you can't look at my women, this is like, hey, check it out, look at this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this case, and in many cases, the role of courtesan was an honor to
Mm,
achieve that role.
I
And
can see
in
that.
in for Wu, it was because her dad was a super loyal servant of the emperor, and he was a duke. He was like, he had status.
Okay,
So
okay.
this was a gift to him as much as a reflection of her abilities. But her abilities did play into it, because she, once she was in the court, was able to take an administrative role because she could read and write. And they
Of
went,
course.
oh, this is great, And so
Here's
there
all my
she
paperwork.
is, right? Like, but for her, here's complete training in statehood. Like, here's everything that we do to
Yeah,
run
fair.
the machine of the state. Like Enheduanna, who kind of through that education was able to just reach out and get a little bit more for herself and start,
Mm.
carving out a bit of a role.
It's one thing having the knowledge and one thing using the knowledge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like there's lots of women in this like light diplomacy role, but actually it feels like Wu was the one to apply that knowledge.
Yeah. And I think
Ooh.
nobody ever dreamed that any woman ever would or could. But
Yeah.
this is where it gets a little sticky, because there's a whole raft of stuff we're about to talk about how she transferred the getting of the knowledge into the using of the knowledge. And so very sadly for her, the emperor, Taizong, died. And then she, being a concubine who has never borne him a child,
Okay.
would traditionally have been hived off at this point, sent away to religious service, head shaved. You are like an unwoman at this point. No man can ever look at you in a sexual way again. It was to make sure that any woman that had been the emperor's consort could never be touched or seen
Oh,
by
I
a man in that way
see.
again.
It was like a
So it
barrier,
wasn't
like a
it wasn't a
bubble.
reward. It was like
Oh,
almost like entombing them with the dead dude. It was like, your
oh,
life is
so
now
cruel.
over. You'll meet him in heaven.
Your life is over
Off
now.
you go. Your life is over. She's at this time 15, maybe 16 years old,
What?
right?
Wild. Oh
So
my God.
unsurprisingly, she had other ideas. They sent
Fair.
her off. This is where the rumor mill begins. Okay, so she's now in the Buddhist monastery of Taizong, the dead emperor, and his son Gaozong has succeeded him. Gaozong is the new emperor. Depending on who you listen to,
Hmm.
they either connected through grieving over their beloved Taizong, or Gaozong and Wu already had a relationship
Little
by the
sexy
time,
time.
a little sexy time by the
Mm.
time dad died. So one way or the other, when Taizong dies,
Yeah.
Gaozong ascends, and Gaozong has a
Such a
wife.
great term.
Oh, it's
Ascends.
ascends. He ascends. Um, his wife is called Empress Wang, and
So she's
Empress
married in as
Wang,
well. He's married too.
he's
Right,
married as
fine.
well. Oh, that's a whole statehood. They like don't have a choice. It's
Right, right.
just this is happening, much like some of
Okay.
the royal families you've talked about in St. Petersburg and so on and so on. They're married off from the time they're about 4,
Yeah.
right? That's just happening. So he's married to Empress Wang. This all is going to get a little bit like Made in Chelsea now. Empress Wang is jealous of one of Gaozong's concubines. This
Fine.
woman is
That
an
makes sense to me.
exceptional beauty. Her name means
Yeah.
something like radiant pearl of the beauty of the skies. It's absurd. She's
Ah,
obviously like beyond
ooh la
stunning.
la.
Ooh la la. Wang, wife Wang is jealous. So wife Wang sees Wu over in the
Wife Wang.
monastery. Wife Wang sees Wu in the monastery, shaved head, and thinks, look at this poor wretched thing. he seems a bit fond of her. I'm going to bring her back, and it'll break up this interest he has in this exceptionally beautiful concubine.
Oh, so she's
So
like the
she's like,
the
yes, let's
distraction.
make
Yeah.
this happen. We'll get her in as a distraction. Exactly. Unfortunately for Empress Wang, it all unravels.
Yeah, it
So
gets from bad to worse.
Wu gets brought back, and Gaozong is so enchanted by her that
Yeah, because she's 15.
she's yeah,
Yeah,
and she has an intelligence,
that's fair. That's
and
fair. I was judging him, not her.
yeah,
Yeah.
it could be that he, maybe it was a real soul connection, but for whatever reason, he leapfrogs her in status above all the other concubines who he had
Oh,
sort of legally taken on. Nobody likes this. Everybody's put out of
no.
joint. Wu has several children with him, which
Okay.
solidifies it, like just locks her
It's
status in
real.
even
Yeah.
further. And then a really dark period in her story. So this is a really
Okay.
controversial rumor. And if you want to read this quote, it kind of sums it up.
Okay. Quote, according to official histories written by those with a reason to besmirch Wu's name, Wu herself smothered her newborn daughter and blamed Empress Wang, who had been the last person to see and hold the child. Reportedly devastated, Gaozong had his empress locked away, soon followed by the other favored consort who Wu accused of being an accomplice. Oh my God. That is scandal. That is
It
like,
is so
even,
dark.
wow.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Okay, so this newborn has died, which is horrific, and they're playing the blame game, and it feels like Wu comes out on top.
that is the rumor that Wu orchestrated it all. There's no nice version of this story because the poor child, and then either Empress Wang did do it, which frankly it was a girl, she would have no reason to do that, or Wu herself did it, and in doing it, she disposed of the wife of the emperor, and she disposed of the concubine who he had been.
Yeah, all competition.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's a bit dark.
let's just keep that in
Ugh.
your head for the time
Okay, okay.
being. Um, it gets even nastier if you'd
Oh
like
my
to hear the
God.
really, yeah, the really gross bit, which feel free to not include this because it is horrific. Not that wasn't, it just keeps going bad to
It
worse.
just keeps going.
Wu apparently, the rumor is, was not satisfied with Empress Wang and her children being kicked out of the court, by the way. She wanted it to go even further. So, as well as having them banished, she asked that they be killed by having
What?
their limbs removed and then being thrown into a vat of wine to drown. So,
I'm sorry.
utterly
That's not
brutal.
true.
It can't
My God. A
keep
vat
it in
of
your head.
wine?
Put it like on a pin board in your head because we will talk about these rumors at the end. And
Okay, okay,
yeah,
fine,
like
fine,
that
fine.
is just so
But
outlandish and
also, these are
brutal.
her lover's children, right? This
Right?
is like,
Why would
they're
he
his
permit
children.
this? Why would he
Yeah.
permit? They did nothing, even if their mother was a
Yes.
murderer. They are blameless children. So they are
Oh, for
also,
heaven's sake.
however, threats to Wu's own children taking the throne.
Yeah, I can kind of
Mm.
see that, but
Yeah. So it is expedient for her that they happen to be banished, and
very,
even more expedient if they're dead.
yeah, 1 to 100. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, whatever the truth, which we cannot know, Wu is now made wife of Emperor Gaozong. And
Yeah.
Gaozong really quickly becomes extremely dependent on her, especially after he suffered a stroke. So there's a
Oh.
quote here from my boy, William Dalrymple. Uh-oh.
Ah,
If you
I'll
go
try
for
and do
it,
him justice.
please do.
Quote, whenever the emperor attended to business, Empress Wu then hung a curtain and listened behind it. There was nothing about government, great or small, which she did not hear. The whole power of the empire passed into her hands, reward and punishment, life and death. She decided. Whoa, this is a rise, my friend.
Yeah, she knows what's going on. And
Mm.
Gaozong then dies. And Wu, her official role is Empress Dowager. So she's like the queen mother.
Yeah.
She is the mother of the traditional successor to the throne, one of her sons. But
Okay.
absolutely breaking with all tradition, absolute heresy, Wu bypasses her sons and says, no, they're not going to be emperor. I am. I am the emperor now. And
That's exactly what Empress Matilda did, isn't it?
for whatever reason, judged that their own offspring were not suitable. They
Mm.
knew what needed to happen for the best of the country or for the best of themselves, and they stepped up. There are so many
Yeah.
parallels.
And also, maybe it is that, and maybe it is like, I'm good enough. You know what I mean?
Well,
Why bypass me?
yeah, like I'm going to do this. I know
I'm
what needs to
capable.
happen. I've been
Yeah.
listening. I've been reading. I know what
Yeah.
is needed. I've
Okay.
got a lovely painting here that shows her in full
Oh, I love it.
regalia,
Oh,
like
that's
Disney
stunning.
villain style. She gives
Yes,
herself
it's Disney villain.
like a new
It's their arms.
imperial title. Yeah, grace and just a
Head up.
slight, there is definitely an air of somebody who could
Yes, love
cut
this.
you.
Love. I want this. That looks great.
She calls herself, she invents a new Chinese character, symbol, language.
Okay.
And this symbol that means her is translates to celestial empress, like the sun and the moon illuminating the world.
Celestial Empress. My God.
That's
That's
a
beautiful.
that's some big old boots that she's filling, right? Like that's
Feels
a
a little
lot.
trumpy though, isn't it? Just a
Well,
little bit.
yeah, there is that. There is that. And
Parallels there too.
more to come. She stepped out. She started to make changes in the state. She started to not just be a figurehead ruler, she
It's
affected
wild.
her power. And a lot of
Love.
the changes she made outlived her. So I thought, having heard some of the worst rumors about a human being, let alone this particular human
Hmm.
being, maybe we should hear some of the facts. These are things that we know happen from historical documents and were how she used her power once she had it.
Hmm.
So
As a history podcast, I would like facts.
facts
Like, I
are good.
feel,
Rumors are delicious, but facts are probably
yes.
what we should focus up on. So here's some of them. Their facts.
Let's go.
Her first priority was meritocracy. So whereas roles within the court and within government had previously gone to highborn people or were gifts, like her own role. You're the daughter of a loyal subject, so you get a leg up.
Hmm.
She shifted that to a system where people were tested for proficiency in their area of expertise and hired on the basis of that proficiency, irrespective of their family's status. So
Oh, so if they were good at what they did, they got the job. Oh,
seems
come on.
seems simple.
This is
Seems simple.
beautiful. I need more of
It
this.
it pissed off a lot of people,
Oh,
let
you.
me tell you, because
Why? Oh my
well,
God.
the highborn people who would have just
I
been
guess
drifted
I
into the
know
role
why,
were
really.
devastated. And it went in the
Yeah.
face of that sort of Confucian wisdom of you're here, like almost like a caste system. This is where you belong. Only people of a
Oh my
certain
God.
social class have the wherewithal to rule. And when we've chatted
It
about this
just,
before, you mentioned a certain prep school in Britain. There is that
yeah. Eton.
Etonian, we know
Yeah.
best, we know what's best for all of you. But you know who didn't mind it? Everybody else.
I
Everybody
know.
else in the country went, this is
'Cause
great. We all have a fair chance, and things are getting better because people who know what
things are
they're
getting,
doing are in
just
charge.
imagine how far we would be as a society, how much further along if we just let people who knew what they were doing do their jobs rather than
Imagine.
some prep school boy. Ugh. I can't. I could do a whole pod on this. I could just run for an hour.
Maybe we
Go on.
should.
Yeah.
Well, we're
Good for her.
wasn't
That's huge.
wasn't having it. The next thing she looked at was the sovereignty of the Chinese state because it's a complicated geographical area. There are Korea, Tibet, Japan on all the borders, each of them with designs on some of Chinese land and historical
Okay.
arguments about who owns what. She strengthened China's borders, which again sounds a bit Trumpy.
Okay.
She was making sure that she wasn't ceding any lands. And she tried to do that through diplomacy, but she was
Huh.
not afraid to do it through violence. She would step up when war was required.
And again, a theme that we hear about a lot in our stories is that the women always try first. They always try diplomacy first
Yeah.
and the greater good solution first. But if you push them, women have always been in war. They've
Yeah.
always fought in wars,
Oh,
always. And
you've
this is just,
talked so many fierce warriors, like the African queens that you and Luke talked about.
yes,
There was no
it's
sense of
everywhere.
anybody shrinking away. They step up, and she did the same. And because she did that, she was able to reopen some of the Silk Road trade routes that had been closed during Taizong and Gaozong's rules,
Nice.
because they had been attacked by bandits. They were these lawless, disease-ridden, dangerous
Ah,
trails that she made viable. And so economically, things boost. And that takes us nicely to her
I
next
love it.
accomplishment, economic reform. And this is probably the one that really resonated with everyday citizens the most. So there's
Okay.
a quote here about how she shook it up.
Wu ordered the compilation of farming textbooks, the construction of irrigation systems, reduction of taxes, and other agrarian reform measures. In 695, Wu offered the entire empire a tax-free year. Her economic policies apparently improved the life of peasants, moving them towards prosperity and peace. A tax-free year.
Yes,
A
please.
joy. Yes,
Yes,
please.
please. She was able to make savings and she was able
Oh.
to revitalize trade and stimulate the economy to the extent, or she couldn't afford it and thought, we're just going to weather that and the government itself will pay the taxes because this is going to make people love me. Either way,
Oh my
she's a
God.
shrewd operator.
Yes, this is
These are
insane.
examples. They are. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So, on top of that, she promoted Buddhism beyond
Okay.
Confucianism as the state religion. Now, Confucianism, as we've said, saw women as inherently inferior.
Mm,
Buddhism, however, had no such rules. There was no
okay.
concept of that. She made it such a marker of status and prosperity to be a reverent Buddhist that having sculptures carved into this massive, I think, limestone wall, this naturally occurring mountainside, basically, carving a Buddha was something that families of status did to sort of, again, it's a flex. Like, oh yeah, I've got a Buddha in the Longman Caves. How about you? And how big your Buddha was kind of
Oh,
a
of
marker of how
course.
how devoted you were, obviously, but also like how cool and
How
rich.
much money you've got.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
right. So Wu herself had a 57-foot Buddha erected.
She's the Empress, baby.
She's the
Be as
Empress.
big as she
She's going to
wants.
have the big old Buddha. This big
Hmm.
old Buddha was, although obviously the Buddha himself was from India, this Buddha looked like a Tang Chinese person. They had Tang features, they had Tang clothing. They also resembled Wu. The facial features of this Buddha are said to be her. And
Oh, it's very
yep,
ego.
it is very
Yeah.
ego, but it's also very shrewd. So there's a quote here about why she might have liked the branch of Buddhism that she was promoting and why she might have done this move with the statue.
Okay, all right. Quote, Wu's Buddhist sect encouraged its followers to regard their earthly ruler as the representative of Vairocana Buddha, Lord of the universe, a belief that Wu probably regarded quite favorably as Empress. Yes, she would.
So like a pharaoh, she's saying, I am God on earth.
I
And
am God
by
on earth.
making the Buddha look like herself, she's reinforcing that concept. So any threat to her rule is an
Right.
offense to God. So she's like
Oh,
solidifying,
damn.
doubling down.
Okay, understood. Understood.
You'll like this one a bit more. She also, being an artist and a poet, she founded a group, a guild for the promotion of the arts. It was,
Okay.
we
I
love a
love that.
name. Here's a lovely name, the Scholars of the Northern Gate. And
Mm.
their entire purpose was to promote the arts.
She's very good at language, isn't she?
Yeah.
Like these phrases that she's coming out with, scholars of the Northern Gate and
The
celestial
Celestial
empress.
Empress. Yeah.
They're very higher being. Everything seems to be godlike,
I
right?
think not by accident, I bet. She would have
Yeah.
had a good career in PR in a different time. She
Yeah, yeah,
definitely would have been a brand advisor. She's very so this brings us to the last of the 6 points that
okay.
sum up her rule and very germane to what we talk about, women's rights. That was something that
Woohoo.
she worked hard. She respected women, we think, because of what she then did. We see her elevating women's status right across the board. So
Nice.
this quote sort of sums up the steps she took to make that happen.
Sweet. Wu began a series of campaigns to uplift the position of women. She advised scholars to write and edit biographies of exemplary women, to assist in the attainment of their political objectives. Wu asserted that the ideal ruler was one who ruled as a mother does over her children. Oh, I love that.
Right.
That's the pod. That's a very dramatic way of what this pod is. The
And
biographies of exemplary women to assist their attainment. Yes.
it's what you were seeking to do, and it's what you talked about with Mary Anning, with so many of the others. Women's stories are so often not documented, not forgotten, or not
Mm,
remembered because it's assumed that who cares what you did?
who
And
cares?
she's stepped up, like you stepped up, and went, no, well, I care, and other people care, and we should all care. We're going to be recording this.
Thank
So,
you so much for comparing me to a celestial empress. That's quite the
well, think
it's
about all
quite
the things she
the
said to have done
flex.
before you say thank you. But that's such the point, though, isn't it? And this is where
It
I'm
is. It's
heading
so
with this
important.
because you have all those accomplishments that are documented elements of a culture's history. This happened. But then you also have her detractors and the more salacious interest in history going, ooh, she was a villain. She was guilty of sexual excess. Even when she was on the throne,
Yeah.
they said, oh, she forced foreign envoys into her bed before she would do any business dealings with
Oh,
them.
fudge
She took
off.
these young lovers in old age and it was, age inappropriate, blah, blah, blah. She was rapacious, sexually hungry, and so on.
It's so like
And
Catherine the Great.
so like Catherine the Great, if we
Yeah.
can't stop you, we're going to try to drag you down by
Yeah.
making slut shaming rumors about you.
I know. So what if you want
And
sex when you're older? So
right.
what?
And how many male rulers did these exact things without
Yeah,
anyone
fair.
even questioning it, batting an eyelid? It's just normal. It's good to be the king. Well, it's also good to be the celestial empress. So, The other slightly more disturbing thing is the contrast between the way she is said to have rose to power versus how she actually used the power when she got there. So we have to sort of try to square that circle of, is this woman a violent, ruthless murderess? Or is this woman someone who cares for her people and the good of the state and what's best? Or is she both? Is it an ends justify the means situation? It's very, very confusing to think about her that way.
The stories don't match.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does not add up. So, whatever the truth of that is, what we can say is that Wu ruled until she was 81, which is
Nice.
it's nearly impossible to live to
Yeah.
81 at that time,
Yeah, fair.
let
Yeah, yeah.
alone to rule, when you have pissed off all these powerful, rich
That's so
people.
true. Yeah,
So
she must have had like a protection or something. Like,
she had something going for her. After she died, however, the emperors and people of status were celebrated after their death with a sculpture called a stele. And
okay.
typically the stele was kind of your greatest hits. Like, here lies so and so, they did this, they did this, they did this.
Oh, nice.
Wu's stele was left blank. And
What do you mean?
it was literally left blank. There's a photo there that it's just a great blank
Just a sheet
space,
of stone. Oh,
as though to say,
it's two
whatever
fingers up.
she thinks she did nothing. And I think that is some serious shade. Some of the scholars speculated that it was a bit like, oh gosh, I should know the names, but one of the female pharaohs was succeeded by someone who immediately had all of her temples, all of her monuments destroyed because he was
Wow.
just so butthurt that a woman had done some stuff. So it's a bit like, doesn't matter what you do, ladies. As
You
soon
could
as
be
you can't
erased.
fight back, you're gone. But the people themselves didn't forget her, and there's a quote here
Oh.
about that.
A stele in Xishan province shows that in time of flood or drought, people pray at a temple in the name of the celestial empress. Wu is still honoured today by an annual agricultural festival there, especially on her birthday. Ah, so the working class people, the one where she got the right information to, she was listening to the people who were affected by the tax-free thing, all of that, they remember. Mm.
Yeah,
Okay, this is quite
thousands of
classism then,
years
isn't it?
later.
There's like two classes going on.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
you're
yeah.
so right. I think there is definitely that. And yeah, she did things that they would never have dreamed that they would see in their lifetime, and they haven't
Mm.
forgotten.
Wow.
Yep. So
Ah,
we're coming to the end of it now. The only other things I think that I wanted to say that we have to think about whether we accept the version of Wu Zetian,
the murder stories.
the murder
That's so
stories, the
true.
rumors, or do we see her as a brilliant reformer?
The
It's
baby
both.
girl, remember, as well. And so she supposedly killed a baby girl and then fixed all these women's rights and, you know, produced economic reform for children, including female children. I don't
It
believe that's
it
interesting,
doesn't
isn't it?
add up. It doesn't add
Oh,
up. But whatever we believe, I have a little cheesy line to end on, like I like to do. And
I love it.
we have to admit that she was a fascinating figure. She refused to stay behind the curtain. That is
She
that is my
did.
cheesy
That's
ending.
so true. It's
And you're
very
so
true.
right. The Catherine the Great parallels, the Empress Matilda parallels, and Hedwana parallels. There were all of these women who ascended and made good changes and then were, oh yeah, but
Wiped.
she did this or she did that. And it's like, did she though? Or are you just talking shit because you don't like what she did?
What
Like,
fascinates me as well with these stories is how wiped they are. Like, you're not even going to write down those achievements on that Steely. And it's just like Mary Anning last week, where people were actually throwing her way her letters and illustrations. It's such a physical act of erasure. And like with the paintings, like with Julie
yeah,
Lester, they're
well, this
physically
must have been a
overwrite.
man.
It's such a deliberate, it's not they're forgotten. I think maybe we need to change our phrasing on the pod a little bit, really,
Yeah,
because it's
that's a
not
good point.
forgotten, it's erased, isn't it? They're
It's
very different.
erased.
I'm amazed at how deliberate everything is.
That is such a good point, and it makes me wonder in this case, like in the case of the paintings, you had scholars go back and very deliberately look for those erasures, look for those thefts.
Mm.
And I think in this case, we have historical evidence of how China prospered under her, possibly because there were open borders and trade. So people from other cultures were able to say, no, I was there. People were living well. No, I was there.
Yeah,
Women were
I
being
was there.
educated. Like this happened because the
Yeah.
documentation in her own society probably would have been destroyed by people who would have benefited from saying, oh, a woman leader is terrible. They're just like every accusation is a confession. Isn't it interesting that all of the rumors that they start about these women are about sexual voraciousness and so on, and those are
Oh,
such
it's so
classically
boring.
male
Yeah,
traits
it's
of
so
like,
basic.
yeah, like come on dudes, like do better,
Do
do
better.
do better.
Yeah,
Mm.
don't be mediocre. I love it. Oh my
Oh,
gosh, what a story. That was quite a roller coaster, Cara. You took us
roller
on that.
coaster, there's a lot going on,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry for all the violence that's unfortunately
No,
comes
it's
with this
important.
story.
It's
Mm.
important. Yeah. it's very and everything seems to be so dramatic, you know what I mean? Like the drama of the rumors, and then the upswing of the drama of a celestial empress, and then creating your own Chinese character because there's nothing that suits me, and you know, every attacks for a year, everything's very extremist, isn't it, in the story?
Big.
Which
She went
makes
big.
it the roller coaster. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of She Changed History. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Find us on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you've got any ideas of women you'd like us to cover in a future episode, please comment on the socials or email us at shechangedhistory@gmail.com. Catch you next time.